Whew, that's a big mountain. Hi, my name is Rich Hanlon. I'm the pastor of Athens United Methodist Church in Athens, Pennsylvania, and I welcome you to this week's pre-sermon Bible study video. I invite you to go ahead and get your Bible, and we're going to open it up to the chapter 8 of the book that we know as the Gospel according to John. And we're going to take a look at a particular story that shows up there, and it is a story that is not included in some of the oldest manuscripts of the book we call John, but it is included in some of the newest manuscripts of the book that we call the Gospel according to John. Now, when I say newer, I mean still ancient by our standards. So let's take a look. John chapter 8, verses 1 to 11, and I'll offer some commentary as we go through it. The story goes like this. Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning, he was back again at the temple. The crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Now keep in mind that the Pharisees were the group within the Jewish faith tradition at that time who had control of the temple and sought to ensure that the community held strict adherence to the law of Moses, which is the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. Well, where exactly are they referring to? They could be referring to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10, where it says, if a man commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the man and the woman who have committed adultery must be put to death. That's Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10. Now I wonder, where is the man in this story? The woman has been brought to be put on trial. The man is nowhere to be seen, is not part of this narrative. It's just a question that we don't really know the answer to, and maybe now is not really the time to consider it, or maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, the story continues. They put this woman on trial in front of the crowd and also in front of Jesus. Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap Jesus into saying something that they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. Boy, would I like to know what Jesus wrote in the dust on that day with his finger. The truth is, we just don't know because it's not written in here. It just says that Jesus wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer. So Jesus stood up again and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. And then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with this woman. Now keep in mind that all these people in the crowd with stones in their hands, rocks that they were intending to use as weapons to kill that woman. But Jesus brought them to the point of reflecting upon their own sins, their own failures to love their neighbors as themselves. And one by one, they dropped their rocks and they walked away. Until only Jesus is left in the middle of the crowd with this woman. And Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. This ends our story. And one of the things that's very notable about this is that there is one person in that crowd who would have been justified in stoning that woman. And it was Jesus. But I imagine that Jesus never picked up a stone in his hand. It wasn't a possibility that he even thought about because Jesus approached this situation with a desire, a commitment to share the gift that we know as grace. And grace is the totally undeserved loving kindness of God. It's a hallmark of Jesus' ministry. It's very profound. It's a profound element in this story, and it is a common theme throughout the entirety of Jesus' ministry. This thing we know as grace, that in this case found expression in the gift that we know as forgiveness. And as we prepare for our Sunday worship experience this week, I would invite you to consider, to reflect upon in your own life. What have been your failures to love others, others' failures to love you? And if we're not careful to welcome this gift of grace that finds expression in forgiveness, those failures to love others, or others' failures to love us, if we're not willing to let these things go as God intends for us to do so, very quickly, these sins can nurture things like grudges and resentments in our hearts and in our minds. And so during our Sunday worship experience this week, we're going to take moments of release, to release those failures to love others and others' failures to love us that perhaps have become something of a resentment and of a grudge. Forgiveness is a gift. It's a gift to be received, and it's a gift to be shared. So I pray for God's blessing upon your week, and I hope to see you on Sunday morning. We're going to be indoors this week at Athens United Methodist Church, which means our attendance is limited, occupancy is limited to 25 in the building. We will be having a Facebook live stream as part of the worship experience on Sunday. And so if you are able to, I hope that you will look us up, Athens United Methodist Church on Facebook. Sunday morning, 10 o'clock a.m., you can participate via live stream from home. Well, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.